This is Do Your Zest. I'm Peter Nasonov, and I'm here to help you live your best life. I share ideas and strategies to help you unlock your full potential and fall in love with your life all over again. In the previous video about the Christmas spirit, I had to acknowledge my breakdown. You see, I was gonna challenge myself to post a new video every day for 30 days. And it didn't happen. And here is why I'm talking about it today. Because it's a perfect example of setting a goal without thinking through the system. And this is how most of us set SMART goals, right? You know the acronym SMART. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. I actually have a video about my 2015 goals where I explain this in greater detail. Of course, everyone who teaches this approach to setting goals has their own twist on it. For example, letter S can mean strategic instead of specific, but it doesn't really change the fact of the matter. Let me share a study with you performed by Dr. Gail Matthews, a psychology professor at the Dominican University of California. She gathered 267 people together from all walks of life, men and women, including entrepreneurs, educators, lawyers, bankers, healthcare providers, and then divided the participants in two groups: those who wrote their goals and dreams and those who didn't. What she discovered was pretty interesting. Turns out that those people who wrote down their goals and dreams on a regular basis were way more likely to achieve those goals and dreams than those who didn't write them down. In fact, she found that you are 42% more likely to achieve your goals if you simply write them down on a regular basis. So it might sound like in order to succeed, you need to write down your goals, right? Not quite. As wonderful as writing down the goals is, let's say you sit down and you write all those goals, or like 2018 resolutions. It's a perfect time to do it. There is only one little problem with this approach. Only 9% of people succeed at achieving their New Year's resolutions. I'll put a link to the poll below this video. So about 1 in 10 people feel like they achieve their New Year's resolutions. And it's very likely, like 91% likely, that you're one of those people who didn't achieve your New Year's resolutions in 2017, even if you wrote them down. Attention! I'm not saying that goals are completely useless, but rather raising your awareness around something that's so cool and so trendy nowadays that professors from the universities are making studies on it. Every business magazine from Forbes to Huffington Post write articles about it, and goals are considered one of the cornerstones of productivity and success. It's easy to get excited fantasizing about what you will achieve. It's a little harder to sit down and actually write those SMART goals. And it's a whole nother story when it comes to reaching them, right? As we said, most people fail and don't feel proud about themselves. At the same time, if you didn't have any goals last year, then obviously you're not going to feel bad about not achieving them. But my guess would be that you aren't making a lot of progress either, or at least not as much as you could had you got those goals in place. So at this point, you're probably confused. Good! Should we have goals? Should we write them down? Maybe we should take it easy and just deal with stuff one day at a time. I'm glad you're thinking about it. Because if there is a good time to take charge of your life, then this time is now. Get into the driver's seat and define the direction your life is gonna go this year. Of course, we all are subject to life, so to speak. Things aren't always go as planned. But guess what? They always go as unplanned if you don't have any plans. That moment from Alice in Wonderland comes to mind. You know what?
I'm gonna read it to you. Alice, would you tell me please which way I ought to go from here? The Cheshire Cat. That depends a good deal on where you want to get to. Alice, I don't much care where. The Cheshire Cat. Then it doesn't much matter which way you go. I think this is genius.
You probably think you're nothing like Alice. You clearly care where you want to get to. I'm gonna bet you don't, because if you did, you would have your goals set and achieved every year and you wouldn't be watching this video. And if you truly belong to those 9% who set and achieve their goals every year, then I wholeheartedly congratulate you This is actually one of a few occasions when belonging to the minority can be beneficial. For the rest of us, I would suggest that we start caring, and this is the first part of the series of videos that will help you reach your juicy, ambitious goals this year. So you better be ready, because for the next 10 minutes, I'm gonna bombard you with studies and stories. Don't worry, they're so good. I mean, we gotta bust some myths and build a solid foundation. If you've been following me, you know how I like to do it. The first story is from the Bible. Jesus shared it as an answer to an expert. They had experts then too. FYI, it has absolutely nothing to do with your religious beliefs. Jesus was a wise man and we all can learn from it. I'm also not trying to teach you holy text here. Shortly you'll see why I'm sharing this story. Below this video there is a link to a cute cartoon that illustrates this story. And there is also a recording here on YouTube of this story told by Martin Luther King. And if you care enough, go ahead, once you're done watching this video, check this story out, because not many people told stories the way Martin Luther did. Anyway, back to the story. Bible, Luke 10:25-37.
On one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. "Teacher," he said, "what must I do to inherit eternal life?" "What is written in the law?" he replied. "How do you read it?" He answered, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." "You have answered correctly," Jesus replied. "Do this, and you will live." But he wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" In reply, Jesus said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho." I hope I'm pronouncing the names of these towns correctly.
If not, my apologies to the religiously sensitive people. Let's focus on the essence of the story.
So a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. So he went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. "Look after him," he said, "and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have." Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? The expert in the law replied, "The one who had mercy on him." Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise."
This has become known as the parable of a good Samaritan. It seems like a pretty trivial story on the surface, right? Hold on, not so fast. As social psychology demonstrates, it's really not that simple. There is a lot more to it. And before I tell you what more, let's recap what we've covered so far. We started by saying that you can increase your chances for success of reaching your goals by 42% by the mere act of writing them down. At the same time, only 9% of people reach their New Year's resolutions. In an attempt to inquire into this confusion together, I told you a story that Jesus shared in the Bible about a good Samaritan. Now what? I'm about to share another study with you that will shed some light on this topic. In 1973, researchers John M. Darley and C. Daniel Batson conducted a study of situational and dispositional variables in helping behavior. Just chill, I'll explain everything in plain English. The experiment took place at Princeton Theological Seminary and was ostensibly about religious teachings and vocations. The participating students were given a questionnaire, and once they were done, they had to go to another building and A, either record a 3-5-minute talk on vocations, or B, tell that story of a good Samaritan. Now it gets more interesting. Each student was rushed, but with a different level of urgency. There were 3 levels of urgency, and I'm gonna read you the phrases from the study that they used to create that sense of rush. In the high hurry condition, they would look at a watch and say to a student,
"Oh, they were expecting you a few minutes ago. We'd better get moving. The assistant should be waiting for you, so you'd better hurry. It shouldn't take but just a minute.
In the intermediate hurry conditions, students were told.
The assistant is ready for you, so please go right over.
And in the low hurry condition, students were told.
It'll be a few minutes before they're ready for you, but you might as well head on over. If you have to wait over there, it shouldn't be long.
Once it was done, a certain level of urgency was created and students were on their way to another building to make this recording. When they were passing an alleyway, they encountered a victim, a shabbily dressed person who was a Confederate actually, an actor, who was sitting slumped on the side of the road in a doorway with his head down, eyes closed, not moving. As the students went by, the victim would cough twice and groaned while still keeping his head down. So he was in obvious need for help. The big question is, would they stop and help? What do you think? What the researchers found is that the task at hand, whether the student was going to give a parable of a good Samaritan who helped his victim, as you remember, or he was going to talk about the vocations, actually didn't affect their performance or their helping behavior. What did affect was, you guessed it, the hurry condition. And you can probably imagine that the more students were in a hurry, the less likely they were to help. Remember, we're talking about Princeton Theological Seminary. Which percentage do you think would stop and help the victim? In high hurry condition, this can be mind-boggling, but 90% of students didn't even stop to help the victim. And get this, on several occasions, a seminary student who was on his way to telling a parable of a good Samaritan about helping a person in need literally stepped over the person in need. Why am I sharing this study with you and this parable and all of that? Because it demonstrates perfectly the danger of being a goal-focused and having deadlines to achieving those goals. Remember what the last letter T in the acronym SMART goals means? It means time-bound. And what do we like to do when we have deadlines? If we don't miss them, then we love to postpone things until the very last moment and then tear our hair out trying to finish the task on time. Another important takeaway is that when you become overly identified and hung up on your goals, then you can easily miss a big picture and get completely out of touch with what's actually happening in front of you in real life. So I encourage you to always remember the big picture and stay away from obsession with SMART goals. When it comes to actually getting things done and making progress in the areas that matter to you, there is a much better way to ensure you succeed. And it comes down to understanding the difference between goals and systems. And let me tell you, goals don't mean much without systems. In the next video, I'll tell you all about it. In the meantime, you have a lot of information to process, so take your time and come back prepared when I release the second part. If you found this video useful, please be kind and generous and share it with a few of your friends. They'll appreciate it. And sign up to my channel too. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.